Welcome to another Baka commentary video. In this video, I'll be talking about the Intel 12th Gen launch, as well as AMD recently had their data center presentation. Hence, why I call this video Intel versus AMD. Intel has finally launched their, Intel 12th Gen CPU. It's a whole new architecture. So what is it? What does this 12th Gen bring us? It brings us PCIe 5.0 support and DDR5 memory support. In Intel's press kit, they sent out the i9s and the i5s. So let's talk. So with the i9, universally most reviewers all kind of said the i9 is a really power hungry, super hard to cool CPU, as well as for those people that aren't very technical or they don't really keep paying attention to technology every single generation. Intel 12th Gen out of box has unlimited TDP, so it will use as much power it will make as much heat just to achieve these insane clock speed that Intel has spec'd it as 5.2 and 5.3 gigahertz. And when all 8 cores, P cores, are running at that 5.3 gigahertz, it got very hot, and even a lot of the reviewers that were using 316mm AIOs, they were hitting close to thermal throttling. They were like sitting in the 90s. So yeah, the i9 is kind of the CPU that you must have. You kind of need open loop cooling so that you can even tame the beast of this CPU as well. However, on the other hand, you have the Intel 12th Gen i5. This CPU seems to be the perfect balance of good performance and value as well. It's a lot more coolable, so like you can cool it with like one of the beefy air coolers, and and as well. But the unfortunate thing is, there is no cheap DDR4 and the PCIe 4.0 motherboard. The cheapest you can go is DDR4 and PCIe 5.0. So what do I think of it? Intel, if you are buying an i5 and you're not willing to pay for the PCIe 5.0 premium, I think you're gonna have to wait for the PCIe 4.0 motherboards to come out. Is DDR5 worth paying premium for? Heck no, unless you're really the i9 buyer. Then you'd go buy the most fastest DDR5 available. If you're not that market, I think if you're the i7, which are on certain reviews, they'd be like, yeah, this is pretty competitive. This beats the crap out of the AMD's Ryzen 7 and makes, again, DDR4 and PCIe 5.0 motherboard. This kind of makes sense for the i7. As for the i5, the motherboards doesn't exist for these. If you're value conscious, there's no value conscious motherboards out there at the moment. However, AMD, on the other hand, on their data center presentation shown, they aren't sitting around and let Intel take all the glory and be like, hey, we're not going to support. In fact, what they did show us, this data center presentation, they really didn't. A lot of it was very data enterprise focused as a typical, but for what should we care about as a consumer, they are telling us that the next gen Ryzen, we should they will support DDR5 and PCIe 5.0 support as well. It will be more power efficient than the previous generation. AMD right now, E5000 series versus Intel 12 series, the Intel may be faster, but AMD right now has the efficiency crown. So yeah, looks like AMD is going to push that efficiency crown even harder and give us even more performance. As well, right now all the data is being given by AMD themselves, so I think we need to take this data with a pinch of salt, and we really need to wait for the third-party reviews, and then I will be able to truly give you my opinion on it, and hopefully as well as look at other people's opinion on the new AMD Zen next gen architecture, which is Zen 4 and Zen 5. Now let's not just talk about the CPU. The GPU that Intel is yet to launch. Now they have seen what AMD now intends to do with their upcoming CPU, with their GPU. Since it's on TSMC 5nm, it's yada yada, it's twice the density. What does twice the density mean? It now can pack twice the thing in the same space. So I guess 2 times more thing into the same thing. Twice the power efficiency means hopefully this brings the power down even more, and to do it for the efficient. However, I think and as well as it claims to give us 1.25 extra performance of the previous node, so like 7nm. This could be a good upgrade. To recap Intel's graphics card, again, a lot of the sources that I looked at and a lot of the tech media, their flagship graphics card, golden sample card, will be at the RTX 3080 performance with lower power consumption. And not golden sample, they're about like 3070 Ti's and lower, but unlike just like the golden sample, it will use less power and more easier to cool. As well, because why? Because it is built on a superior node, in my opinion, the TSMC 6nm, which is way better than the current Samsung 8nm, which is a custom 10nm Samsung node, which is not very good in terms of power efficiency for these giant monolithic die that wants massive clock speed. As well as Intel graphics card is gonna, unlike Nvidia, gonna give you plenty of VRAM for the performance class of the graphics card. So yay! I hope you enjoyed this video. Press like and subscribe and comment to get this video into the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you in the next video. Baka commentary out.